PowerPoint going. A lot of you guys know who I am already. My name is Julia Klein, the social media diva, and I am the Chicagoland Marketer of the Year for the Chicagoland area for 2010. As of 15, 19. I'll tell you a little bit about, most of you know who I am and where I got started, but just very briefly, before I landed in Planet Dan, I was a platform speaker, and I had one product and one way to sell it. Basically, I had a product that was called Fast Track to Social Media Success. And the only way that I knew to sell it was standing up on stage like this. And I did okay. I made a decent amount of money because I closed like a banshee. And so I thought I was doing okay. But then my world got changed in a massive way when I encountered mean old Dan, otherwise known as Dan Kennedy. And as I started to encounter Dan, he exploded into my life, and I started studying marketing like was going out of style. The ultimate sales letter, the ultimate marketing plan, no BS sales to the affluent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This book right here, no BS. Hey, we got a PowerPoint. We have a clicker? All right, well, we've got a clicker. Will you put me up on the Dan Kennedy slide? Go forward, like 3 slides. This book of his, by all means, was the most influential book of his that I read. And we're going to be talking about it in a little while, and feel free to guess why there might be 10 of them up here on stage. Next slide, Henry, please. There we go. Awesome. And, okay, so I'll get to the books in a second, but now let's just dive right into the sizzle, which is my results for 2010. For starters, my sales tripled from 2009 to 2010. In part, that was because of increased volume, but it was also because of increased pricing, which is the Dan Kennedy mantra, right? Backwards, forwards. My high price point went from $9.97. That was the highest price point at which I sold anything, because I only have one product. I sold it one way. I went from there to $10,000. Is that a pretty significant increase? Yes.6 you, Dan Kennedy. I also expanded my product lineup from one product to over a dozen different products that I now offer. I've conducted a half dozen of my own seminars around the country this last fall. And not only did I do that, I've closed over 50% of the audience, which is huge. I also realized that traveling all over the country, putting on my own seminars is a huge amount of work. I didn't want to do it, but I realized that I had something that really worked, so I took it online, which was another big thing that happened. I started a membership program in August. How many of you have heard that you should start a membership program? A lot of you, right? I started with one person. I did my first call, big group call, everybody joined the call. One person was on the call. And that program has now doubled every single month since then. So it's a $97 a month program. Pretty soon I'm going to be paying my mortgage with that program. I became an international speaker. That was one of my big accomplishments for this year because I was invited to speak on 4 different stages of GKIC promoters. And one of them was Mal Emery. He's known as the Dan Kennedy of Australia. He is the most well-known, most well-sought-after promoter in Sydney, in all of Australia. And that's a picture of me outside the Sydney Harbour. It's pretty amazing. I got to work for 1 day and spend 10 days vacationing around Australia. How cool is that? And that there is the Pacific Ocean. That's not the Pacific Ocean that you see when you're in California. That's a different Pacific Ocean. It's the one that's wrapped around Australia. It's much cooler. Okay, and the way that I did this, I'm going to talk, but now we're back to the book. Like I said, this book was the most influential thing in my life this last year, and it's a collection of 28 wealth attraction magnets that Dan's put together in a book. We're going to talk about 3 of them. The first one is to be somebody. What Dan means by this, a quote on his book, page 73, he says, make yourself into a celebrity, because everybody prefers working with experts. And this means hanging out with celebrities, getting your picture taken with celebrities, but also celebritizing yourself. I wanted to celebritize myself among some of the top GKIC players. And all of them had accomplished a lot more than I had. I was nothing like a celebrity in their eyes. So I decided to go do something that none of them had done or was able to do. At the last Info Summit, I conducted a VIP party. And I invited all of these VIPs to the party. For example, we have Ryan Dice. Who knows Ryan Dice? One of the most successful internet marketers in the world. He actually didn't make it to the party despite Steve's best efforts. His attempt, as Ryan had been previously booked. But this is a party picture of me and him right outside the party afterwards. Mary Ellen Trivy. Does anybody know that name? Early to Rise, the CEO and publisher of Early to Rise. Almost single-handedly responsible for the largest email marketing list in the world. Early to Rise has over 1 million subscribers, thanks to Mary Ellen. The Facebook boys. Do you You know them, Joey and Jamie Bridges? They were at our party. And then Charlie McDermott, he was the Marketer of the Year for last Super Conference, GKIC Marketer of the Year. And what I learned from Mary Ellen Tribby, and the reason why I did this party, is because if you want to be valuable to the people that you regard as having a lot of value, like some of the ones I just put up on the screen, you have to provide value to them. So by conducting this party, I allowed them to mix and mingle with each other. And I networked among the party, figuring out who should talk to who, put them together. After the party, everybody was talking about me and my VIP party. And I also helped my co-hostess, was Beth Davis. It was an unbelievable woman. I don't have time to talk about her now. I'll meet her in January at the event. The next thing about being somebody is not just about celebrity. It's also about becoming an expert. Has anybody ever heard of a yurt? What a yurt is? One of my clients is Becky Kemery. And Becky Kemery is the world's #1 expert on yurts. As a result, Becky has a website that delivers 50% of the leads to the world's largest yurt manufacturers. The reason I'm telling you this is because these manufacturers, some of them make as much as $350,000 a month selling yurts. Becky delivers 50% of their leads. And they admit it. They tell her, they do this from her website. I said, Becky, are you charging them to be advertising on your website? She said, oh yeah, I do. I charge them $350 a year. Becky, when you're an expert, you can significantly raise your prices. We immediately revamped her sponsorship model. She made a couple of phone calls and instantly had the money in her checking account to pay for her entire coaching program with me. Well, almost all of it. I'm not cheap. Okay, so what's the fastest way to become an expert? Announce it. Say that you are. I am the nation's leading expert in social media marketing for small business. Because I said I am. So you need to announce that you are an expert. When you say that you're an expert, you might also want to repeat it on Facebook or YouTube or something along those lines. Might increase your expert status, your celebrity status. That's about being somebody, becoming a celebrity, becoming an expert. The second one, be somewhere. What Dana means by this is be everywhere that is relevant to your ideal customer. This is marketing by attraction. What he means is go to networking events, speak on stage, publish books, be everywhere that your customer is. Another great example of that is GKIC events. Marty talked about the significance of those in his business as well. This is this most recent info summit. There's a picture of me with, oh yes, Frank Kern. He's one of our favorites. And all of you could have had a picture of yourself with Frank Kern if you'd been at that info summit. If you had been somewhere, you could have been somebody as well, right? Created that celebrity status by being somewhere. Also at this info summit, it wasn't just Frank Kern was there. Matt Basak, Russell Brunson, Ryan Dice, Alex Madosian. These are some of the biggest internet marketers in the world. They were all at this event. All that you could talk to them, take pictures with them, ask them questions. And there was a couple of guys, Yannick Silvers. Everybody know who Yannick Silver is? He was at the event. He wasn't even speaking. He was there for the networking. He was being somewhere. So was Mike Filsaime. It was the first chance that I got to meet Mike Filsaime. And he and I, we were talking about midnight in the hotel lobby, which is part of being somewhere. You don't just go to the event, you hang out in the lobby at midnight. You don't go back to your room. And after about 3 minutes of talking to each other, he said, you have very different things to say about social media than I've ever heard before. Do you have a card? I can refer you a lot of business. Do you think that that's a good thing for my business prospects, right? Being somewhere, right? And he also happened, Mike, I don't know if you can see this picture or not, Mike throws one of the biggest affiliate marketing parties of the year called the Philsamides. And this is a picture of this outrageous event in Vegas. In fact, Bill, I think you were there, weren't you? Bill Walsh, are you still here? I saw him at that party. That's me and Mike at his party in Vegas. And then, who has ever heard of StomperNet? Heard of a magazine called StomperNet? It's one of the leading internet marketing journals. This guy here, Ross Goldberg, is the former CEO of StomperNet. Eric Stafford is a staff writer for StomperNet. I met these guys at a party of Matt Basak's about a year ago. Ross and I got to talking. He offered me a job at StomperNet to be their social media correspondent. StomperNet was going through a lot of change, and I actually ended up turning it down. But because of that event, now this is at Mike's event in Vegas. We saw each other again. These guys are up to some new crazy things. They're not with StomperNet anymore. We're going to get involved in that. So it's about being somewhere. This picture, this is not about me and the girl, and you can't see it in the background, but this is the Shine logo. So anybody heard of Shine? Allie Brown? Allie Brown's annual event for women entrepreneurs is some of the most off-the-hook networking you have ever been to in your entire life. If you are a woman in business or you sell to women in business, you've got to get to Allie's event. And this is a picture of me standing at the thing. One of the people that I met is Lisa Williams. You probably don't know her name or her face, but Lisa is the Senior Vice President of the Canfield Training Group, as in Jack Canfield. Ever heard of him? Chicken Soup for the Soul guy? She and I, just a couple of girls, having a drink on the dance floor at the fancy party in our evening gowns, right? Over a sip of champagne, she asked me what I do for a living. I told her social media. She's like, we gotta talk. She and her entire team took me out for lunch the next day. We sat for 2 hours. I didn't charge them any money, but they have now gone home and implemented in Jack's Facebook and YouTube marketing the strategies that I told them to implement. Is that going to make an impact on my business? And it's all from being somewhere. Being somewhere. So the third thing is do something. As Dan says, there's no wealth in an idea. Wealth is only to be had from acting on an idea. I'm sure we can all think about things that you have in mind that you would like to act upon. The lesson here is to act on them. Take action. And just to summarize some of the things that I have done this year, why I believe I've earned your vote. I've enrolled in Dan's newsletter, read his books, attended his events, joined his mastermind. I said yes to the Australia trip, even though it was a big upfront investment and a lot of risk. Created 6 nationwide workshops for myself. I launched a $97 a month membership program, which is doubled in size every month. I raised my prices. How many of you are too scared to do that? Come on, raise your prices, you guys. I took initiative to host a VIP party. I've introduced myself to the people I want to meet. Ryan Dice didn't walk over to me. Frank Kern didn't walk over to me. Mike Koenig didn't walk over to me. Beth Davis didn't walk over to me. Hell, Marty Pavlonis didn't even walk over to me the first time I met him. You gotta walk over and meet people. Okay? You gotta go say hello. And I hopped on a plane to go to Vegas for Mike Stilsane's party on a 4 days notice. And because of all of you, I became Chicagoland Marketer of the Year 2010. One last thing. I told you that the biggest factor in my life this year was this book. And there's 10 of them sitting here. And I'm actually going to give these away to the people who vote for me tonight. Everybody who votes for me goes into the raffle. I'm giving away 10 books. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Julia Klein, totally casual photo.
Stand on the chair.
Thank you, Henry. Julia Klein, everybody. Okay, time to vote. Write down either a J for Julia or an M for Marty. Just write one letter on the piece of paper.